Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, the X-Boss himself, he responded to some of the, we're going to go and call it speculation about them going third party. He did answer that question in an interview today, though honestly, I don't even think that that's necessarily the most interesting thing that he mentioned here. He had a lot to say, and you Xbox fans right now might want to go ahead and stay tuned. There was definitely some very interesting things said here. Then also Capcom, they confirmed some pretty big news themselves and talk about speculation. Well, the speculation is about ready to begin. Of course, though, this being News Dose, we do have plenty of other things to talk about as well, so let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with a small update for the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. We've really not heard much about this game pretty much since it was first announced back in, what I believe, 2021, so it has been a little while, but there has been some movement here in the last few months. Back in September, the series creator, Yuji Horii, mentioned that it was progressing quite steadily, and today, he also gave us another update confirming that he was playtesting late into the night. So, I mean, this isn't necessarily a huge update per se, but knowing that he is playtesting this game for an extended amount of time, that is at the very least a good sign that we are getting closer to its release. Hopefully, we'll get more of an official announcement sometime here soon with maybe a release date, and you know what, for that matter, hopefully, Square Enix actually advertises this game. Something that might surprise some of you is that there's actually a brand new Dragon Quest game that released just today for the Nintendo Switch, being Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. I mean, I guess Square Enix just kind of pushed this game out into the wild and said, good luck, go be somebody, because there has been 0 reviews as of this moment, and I've barely seen coverage for it at all. But I don't know. Square Enix, they're kind of a strange company. Speaking of advertising, though, I'll tell you what won't have that problem, and that's Grand Theft Auto 6. Its announcement is being made out to be a grand event all on its own, and I mean, a couple months ago, we might have thought that the Game Awards was going to be the biggest event for the month of December, but Rockstar, they came in and they said, hang on there. We have something to show fans first, because GTA 6 is officially set to get its first trailer 2 days before the Game Awards on December 5th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So go ahead and set your alarm clock if you're looking forward to the next GTA. They did share a snazzy little graphic here, though, which seems to be teasing the location. It appears it will be in Miami once again, which I don't think that that's a big surprise for most people who's been following GTA news. All the leaks and rumors have been pointing to Miami being the location for a while now. But yeah, after a 10-year wait and 1 console generation later, it's almost time. We're finally going to see the next Grand Theft Auto in all its glory in just 4 days from the making of this video. Quite frankly, this will be the biggest reveal for the entire generation. This is going to be an event all on its own. Back to that graphic here for a moment, though, because Halo also shared an image that is strikingly similar. It has banshees instead of birds, and its trees are a little less than healthy, but it seems like they're kind of joking around with the two, maybe coordinating their announcements here. I don't know if that really speaks to anything. I know there's been a lot of speculation over the marketing, and that's going to kind of continue on. Who knows what's happening with all that? But either way, this is a fun way to advertise. It's a fun nod, and it also gets people talking. So Halo will have some kind of an announcement on December 4th, and if you like Halo, you might want to go and tune in for all that as well, on top of the GTA 6 announcement, which will be 1 day later. Actually, about that, though, let's go and talk about Xbox, because Phil Spencer shared a lot of information about their future plans via Windows Central, and right away, he had to talk about the elephant in the room. The big talking point that's been going on all week: are they actually going to go third party? I've said multiple times, I think that comment has been misconstrued, but Phil Spencer quickly shot that rumor down. This is what he said. I'll start by saying that we have no plans to bring Game Pass to PlayStation or Nintendo. It's not in our plans. But I think you hit the right point of what it means to own an Xbox. The thing that I want to be focused on is how do we continue to innovate for people who've made the commitment to our hardware platform, and how do we continue to make sure that they feel great about their investment in what we've built. I want us to continue to innovate so people on our console feels like we're making investments in console that matches their commitment they're making to us. So not only does he confirm that they have no plans to release Game Pass on Nintendo and PlayStation, which I don't think is a big surprise, But what I found really telling here is that he doubled down on investing in Xbox consoles. Contrary to some of the talking points online this past week, it sounds like their plans is actually the exact opposite. This to me kind of sounds like he wants more console exclusives, not less. Which, I mean, if you think about it, they do now have the studios to make that happen. Now, sure, there will be some special cases, a la Minecraft and Call of Duty, that will be completely multi-platform, but as I've said time and time again, I wouldn't go in holding my breath that all of their games are suddenly going to appear on other consoles. That just doesn't really seem realistic for the time being, especially considering the investments that Xbox has recently made to prop up their brand. So, this really is just a case-by-case situation, and I think that if you've been paying attention to how Xbox operates and how they speak publicly with their PR, none of this is really all that surprising. As soon as I heard that comment made from the Xbox CFO about wanting Game Pass on all screens, I thought it was being misconstrued. Now, some of the blame, though, has to be put on Tim Stewart because I think that he unnecessarily made that comment more confusing than what it should have been. But either way, kudos to Phil Spencer for setting the record straight here, and now we can just kind of move on to the truly exciting things that he mentioned, because he talked about a lot of other things here, including game revivals now that they own Activision Blizzard King. He mentioned that the Game Pass business model offers teams the chance to create a diverse library. He pointed to games like Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, and Grounded as some recent examples that's found success. But in other words, if a team wants to make something like, let's say, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, or StarCraft, they can absolutely do that because Game Pass relieves the pressure to deliver those constant, massive AAA games like Call of Duty. There's a chance to offer a diverse catalog with something like Game Pass. It does allow these companies to bring back all these dormant IP if that's something that they truly want to do, which is exactly what you want to hear as a fan. The days of those creative Blizzard games and a more diverse Activision than what we've seen in recent years with them just solely focusing on Call of Duty might soon be returning thanks to that Xbox acquisition. This has always been at the forefront of what I wanted to see with the Xbox buyout. It could ultimately make for a much better Activision Blizzard than we've seen here recently. However, though, Phil Spencer actually did name drop one specific game, and check this out. I think fans are going to like this. So he said, "You've seen from our history that we haven't touched every franchise that people would love us to touch. Banjo fans, I hear you. But it is true that when we find the right team and the right opportunity, I love going back to revisit stories and characters that we've seen previously." Then shortly after that, he even goes on to say that I want our fans and customers to know that I don't bring up games just to tease to no end. If people have watched how we've teased things in the past, there's usually some kind of reconciliation of those hints later on. I'm not one to try and lead people on. It might not happen on the timeline that people would love, but usually when I tease, there's something there. So that is a very curious back-to-back statement to make. Is he maybe teasing something Banjo related? I mean, as a longtime fan, I'd like to think so. I don't know if he actually is, but at least he does hear us Banjo fans, which is at least something. But if you think about it, he is right about what he's saying. Phil does have a tendency of teasing things well ahead of time. This is often done with his t-shirts and his infamous shelf. We always got to pay attention to that as well, but he does like to drop hints here and there. So when he mentions a game by name, it might not necessarily be a confirmation per se, but it is worth noting at the bare minimum because at times it does turn out to be more than just a mention. Hexen, as an example, that's a game that I'd kind of keep an eye on right now. It seems like Phil would like to see it come back, and in fact, Night Dive Studios, they've already thrown their hat in the ring to revive it, so something to kind of keep an eye on there. Banjo and Hexen. I don't know if I thought I'd be talking about those two games in the same topic, but here we are, I guess. The last thing that he mentioned here, though, that I wanted to quickly discuss is that he did briefly say something about improved Xbox achievements. You can see here where he said that there's a hardware roadmap, there's a service roadmap, maybe there's even a roadmap for improvements to Xbox achievements, which I know is something that you and many others care about. So I think that's about as close of a confirmation as you're going to get for the time being. But yeah, it definitely looks like improved achievements are, in fact, in their plans. I know a lot of people want a platinum equivalent achievement, and I'm completely with you on that. I personally really like platinum trophies on PlayStation because I think it's a great way of seeing which games you've 100% completed. It gives you a little bit more of a reason to complete said games. I can actually go in my profile right now and I can see the exact amount of platinum trophies that I have on my profile, whereas on Xbox, I don't think it's necessarily as refined in that sense. Now, I do like the number system that Xbox has with their achievements, but there's definitely some things that they could do here to make it even better. As I always like to preach on this channel, competition breeds excellence, and this is one of those situations. Maybe Xbox can apply that to their achievements, maybe call it a crowning achievement that marks 100% completion. That would be pretty cool. But again, it definitely looks like Team Xbox is listening here, and that there was really my big takeaway from this interview. They are listening. Moving on, though, we do have one last thing to talk about here because Capcom confirmed that there's more remakes on the way. This was at a PlayStation Awards event in Japan where they were asked about the Resident Evil remakes and if they wanted to make more, and this was their response. Yes, we've released 3 remakes so far, and they have all been received very well. Since it allows a modern audience to play these games, it is something that I'm happy to do as someone that loves these older games, and we want to continue doing more. What game we will remake in the future is something that we would like to announce in the future, so please look forward to it. So the Resident Evil 4 remake is absolutely not the end here. I think that was already kind of expected, but now you do have a confirmation. Really, now it just kind of becomes a question of what's next. And I think in terms of the Resident Evil franchise, there's really 3 options. They could either remake Resident Evil 1 again, but this time make it a little bit more similar to the other remakes and make it more modern. I think that could be something special if they decide to go in that direction. I mean, we'll see, but Code Veronica is another game that continues to pop up in these conversations. It's not a numbered title, and I think a lot of people originally missed out on this game, but the fans that have played it, they really seem to like this game a lot. I think that's what kind of makes this such an interesting candidate, though, because a lot of people haven't played it. So it'll honestly feel like a brand new game for a lot of people out there. I definitely think Capcom should keep this one in mind. But obviously, the big one here is the next numbered entry being Resident Evil 5. Now, I do understand that Resident Evil 5 is more than playable today. It did get a remaster on the PS4 and Xbox One. And in terms of its controls, it's aged rather well. But I think remaking this game specifically could be an opportunity for Capcom to maybe rewrite history a little bit and make this game even scarier. That is one thing that they did with the Resident Evil 4 remake. They made it a point to give it a scarier atmosphere. I'm not going to sit there and say that it's a super scary game, but they did give it a scarier atmosphere, and they could do something similar with Resident Evil 5, which is really the complete turning point for the series, where, they made this game into a full-on action game. So I think that they could actually make some big changes with Resident Evil 5, and honestly, make it even better. If they wanted to, this could be more of a reimagining than a flat-out remake. Now, that might be controversial to say, though. I don't expect everybody to agree with that. So, you know what? Let me hear your all's thoughts on this in the comments below. If they do remake 5, do you want it to be faithful, or instead would you prefer them to make some major changes to make it into more of a horror experience? That's the side I lean in on, but I do want to hear your all's thoughts on this as well. Either way, do expect more Resident Evil remakes in the future. That's confirmed. And hey, if we're lucky, maybe this will also expand into the Dino Crisis series as well. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Come on, Capcom. Let's make it happen. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though. We're asked you all, if the Nintendo Switch successor releases in 2024, when do you think it will release? And it does look like you all are pretty split here, with it either coming in quarter 3 or quarter 4. A lot of those rumors do point to a summer release, which would be quarter 3, but most consoles do tend to release during that holiday period, right around November. That's kind of the thing, though, because we're talking about Nintendo here, and they have got to be the most unpredictable platform holder out of all the big 3. They really do just march to their own beat. They do whatever they want, so, they could drop the Switch successor at any point of the year, and I really wouldn't bat an eye at all. I mean, look at the Switch. They released that in March out of all months, and look at the success it had. So it really is hard to predict what they'll do, but I'm going to go ahead and lean into those summer rumors as well. Not necessarily because I think that's actually going to happen, because I really don't know, but rather because I want it to happen. The earlier we get our hands on the Switch successor, the happier I'll be, because I'm pretty excited to play it myself. And honestly, I'm just ready to see Nintendo have a big power leap compared to the current Switch. The idea of the next Metroid, the next Zelda, the next Pokemon, having at least PS4 quality visuals is pretty exciting for me, because we really haven't seen a big graphical jump from them since the GameCube days. It's been a long time, so I am absolutely pumped to see this next Nintendo console. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.